This video presents the standardized bowl trapping technique for day-flying bees and the terrestrial habitats. This was made as a supplement to the Handy Bee manual and should not be used as a sole resource. A list of resources is listed on screen, and links to all the resources can be found in the description below. The Handy Bee manual is updated frequently, so please ensure you have the latest version. For specialized habitats, please refer to the Handy Bee manual, U.S. National Native Bee Monitoring Research Coordination Network publications, and other literature. Glycol bowl traps are fluorescent blue, fluorescent yellow, and white-colored plastic cups that are filled with a mixture of water, propylene glycol, and liquid dishwashing soap. The traps catch bees continuously and are less susceptible to evaporation, rain, and disturbance than smaller traps. Because they catch continuously, you may expect large quantities of specimens. Glycol traps are an alternative technique that can be used when soapy bowl traps and/or netting are not feasible, such as in cases where survey sites are in remote, difficult-to-access locations that cannot be easily revisited the next day. However, this method may result in high mortality of non-target species, and specimens collected in glycol may be more difficult to process and identify, and thus may incur unexpected processing delays and expenses. Coordinate with the lab you are working with to determine their capacity to process and identify specimens collected in glycol. Glycol trap size does not matter, but the current standard is to use 12-ounce stadium cups to prevent traps from drying out between specimen collection events. Use a thin, sharp object to poke drainage holes just under the rim of the cup in case of rain. Test to make sure the holes are large enough by filling the cup with water and checking the water is able to drain through the holes. Glycol traps are deployed 5 meters apart in transects consisting of 9 traps, 3 each of fluorescent blue, fluorescent yellow, and white. The specimens must be collected from the traps every 1 to 2 weeks. Specimens left outside in the glycol solution for more than 2 weeks will rot. Just as with soapy water bowl traps, glycol traps should be placed in exposed, sunny areas. Glycol trap deployment and collection is not contingent on ambient conditions, but you should still be mindful of coming weather patterns. Storms may overflow or knock down traps, while glycol can evaporate faster during heat waves. Plan to revisit the bowl sooner than your established 1 to 2 week interval should any dramatic weather events happen. Before you begin, it is good practice to pre-fill survey sheets and tracking labels to reduce time spent writing in the field and ensure data consistency throughout transects and sites. Tracking labels are small pieces of paper that contain the minimum data required for tracking samples during specimen processing. They are placed in each Ziploc bag with specimens after each survey. Tracking labels need to be printed using a laser printer on heavy cardstock, or ideally, right in the rain paper. Tracking labels should only be filled out using a pencil. Never use a pen or marker on the label or on the outside of the bag, as the ink will dissolve. It is also good to create a supply checklist to confirm you have all the necessary supplies. Refer to the Handy Bee manual for a list of recommended supplies and a tracking label template. Prepare at least one 1-gallon jug of soapy glycol solution for every 3 transects you will survey. Do this by filling the jug with a 1-to-1 ratio of water and propylene glycol, then mixing in 1 squeeze of Dawn Ultra Blue dishwashing liquid. If you are surveying somewhere hot where there will likely be high evaporation, such as in a desert, do not dilute the glycol. In addition, sort your traps into sets for each transect you will survey to save time in the field. Alternate between fluorescent blue, fluorescent yellow, and white cups. Make sure you have 9 cups for each transect, with 3 cups of each of the 3 colors. Stand at the start of your established transect. Use a mallet to sink a bowl stand into the ground and place a bowl in the stand. The traps should be positioned at a height such that the bottom of the cup is just above the level of the ground or just below the densest vegetation surrounding the trap. If absolutely necessary, you can flatten vegetation just around the bowl to increase the bowl's visibility. Fill the bowl using the soapy glycol solution until the liquid reaches the top line on the solo cup or the cup is about 3/4 full. Continue setting and filling bowls 5 meters apart, alternating between fluorescent blue, fluorescent yellow, and white bowls so that no 2 bowls of the same color are next to each other. Continue until all 9 bowls are placed. The bowls do not need to be laid out in a strictly straight line. The transect can meander around tall vegetation or other obstacles as long as the traps remain 5 meters apart. You can use a measuring tape to measure 5 meters, or you can measure out 5 meters and count how many of your steps measure 5 meters. After you finish setting out all the bowls, ensure your survey sheets and tracking labels are filled out with all necessary data. Do not leave until you have recorded your data. Return to the transect every week to check on the glycol traps. Refill the bowls if necessary to ensure they do not dry out. You can also adjust the bowl stand height if needed. Upon arriving at your survey site to retrieve the bowls, record all necessary data on your survey sheet and finish filling out your tracking labels. Note any traps that have been disturbed, tipped over, dried out, destroyed, or otherwise rendered unusable. Also note bowls that collected no specimens. To start, go to the first bowl in the transect. Pick up the bowl and strain the contents out using an extremely fine strainer, brine shrimp mesh aquarium net, or net bag. Strain the insects over another container, such as another bowl, to collect the glycol. Do not pour the glycol out on the ground. Pour the strained glycol back into the original bowl trap and return the bowl to its stand. Replenish the bowl with fresh soapy glycol solution if needed, or replace the solution completely if the liquid becomes too cloudy or dirty. Continue collecting bowls and straining insects out until all the bowls have been collected. Unless your project is specifically studying differences between bowls, pool the insect specimens across bowl colors. Using your fingers or a spoon, remove any large plant material from the bowl. You may also remove any large, obviously non-hymenopteran insects, such as butterflies, slugs, or snails, but be careful to check for any bees or other small insects that may be attached before removing the contaminant. Once you have finished collecting all the bowls, move the specimens from the strainer into a quart-sized Ziploc bag or whirl pack. Use your fingers or a spoon to scoop out any specimens that do not easily go into the bag. If you are surveying in a remote location and will be in the field for an extended period of time, you can add a few drops of alcohol to the bag to preserve the specimens while you continue surveying. Alternatively, you can transport the bagged specimens in a small cooler with ice. The choice of preservation method from field to lab will depend on your project's objectives and the preferences of the lab that will be processing and identifying the specimens. Gently roll up the bag, trying to remove as much air as possible without crushing the specimens, then place inside another quart-sized Ziploc bag, along with a fully filled out tracking label. The label can also be placed inside the specimen bag as long as it has been filled out using dark lead pencil. Before leaving, ensure all data has been recorded on all necessary sheets and you have all the supplies you brought with you. If this is your final survey, remove the elevated bowl stands and collect the soapy glycol solution into a gallon jug. Do not pour the glycol solution onto the ground. Waste glycol should be collected and stored for reuse until the liquid becomes very cloudy or dirty. Consult the propylene glycol label for disposal instructions. The specimens should be stored in a negative 20 degrees Celsius freezer as soon as possible to prevent the specimens from deteriorating. The specimens should be processed within 6 months of capture. As a reminder, this video presents the standardized bowl trapping technique for day-flying bees and their terrestrial habitats and is not intended to be used as a sole resource. For more information on bee collections and links to resources, please refer to the handy bee manual or any of the other resources below. We also have other videos on bee survey techniques which can be found on screen. Thank you for watching!